I staged my own financial ruin to discover who my real friends were. The results shocked me. By 28, I'd built a decent life. Marketing director at a Fortune 500 company, six-figure salary, downtown penthouse, German sports car. My social circle knew I had money, and I was generous with it. Weekend trips to Vegas, expensive dinners, always picking up the tab. But something felt off. When I talked about work stress or personal problems, conversations quickly shifted to lighter topics. When I suggested cheaper activities, people suddenly had other plans. I started wondering, did they actually like me? The test came after a particularly bad week. I'd covered a $3,000 Vegas trip for 6 friends, and not one asked how I was doing when I mentioned my grandmother's cancer diagnosis. They were too busy planning our next expensive adventure. I decided to find out who would stick around when the money disappeared. I created an elaborate lie. First, I told my closest friends that my company was under federal investigation for fraud. As marketing director, I was being scapegoated. My assets were frozen pending investigation. I'd probably face criminal charges. The story was believable enough. Corporate scandals happened constantly. I sold my car to a dealer friend who agreed to hide it for 2 months. I moved out of my penthouse and crashed with my cousin who lived across town. Then I watched. Brittany, my supposed best friend for 5 years, stopped returning texts within a week. When I called about getting coffee, she said she was super busy with work stuff. This from someone who used to text me daily about every mundane detail of her life. Tyler, who I'd known since college, suddenly remembered he owed me $800 from a shared vacation. Things are tight right now, but I'll pay you back when this investigation stuff blows over. He'd never mentioned owing me anything before. The group chat went silent whenever I posted. These same people who used to blow up my phone with memes and plans now acted like I had a contagious disease. But 3 people surprised me. Ethan, a coworker I barely knew outside office hours, invited me to free community events. Thought you might want to get out of the house, he said. No mention of money or my situation. My neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, an elderly woman I'd helped with groceries a few times, started leaving homemade meals outside my cousin's door. She never asked questions, just left notes saying, "Hope you're doing okay." Most shocking was Haley, a girl I'd been casually dating for 2 months. Everyone else assumed we'd break up since I couldn't afford fancy restaurants anymore. Instead, she suggested cooking together and hiking in local parks. "I like spending time with you," she said. The other stuff was just extra. The breaking point came at Tyler's birthday party. I showed up in my cousin's beat-up Honda, wearing clothes from Target instead of designer brands. The host barely acknowledged me. Conversations stopped when I approached groups. At one point, I overheard Brittany telling someone, "It's so sad about his situation, but honestly, he was getting kind of irresponsible with money anyway. This might be good for him." This woman had benefited from my irresponsible spending for years. Vacations, concert tickets, expensive birthday gifts, all forgotten. That night, I decided to end the experiment. I invited my entire friend group to dinner at an upscale restaurant, my treat. They were confused, but showed up, probably thinking I'd gotten money from family or something. After we ordered, I stood up with a glass of wine. "I have an announcement," I said. "The federal investigation is over." Everyone perked up, suddenly interested again. Actually, there never was an investigation. I made the whole thing up to see who would stick around when I wasn't buying drinks and paying for trips. The table went dead silent. Turns out most of you disappeared the moment you thought I was broke. Brittany, you stopped calling. Tyler, you suddenly remembered a debt that never existed. Half of you acted like I had the plague. I pulled out my phone and showed them photos of my car and apartment. I never lost anything. I just wanted to know who my real friends were. The reactions were exactly what I expected. Anger, denial, excuses. Brittany claimed she was giving me space. Tyler insisted he was protecting me from embarrassment. Only 3 people passed the test. Ethan, who never knew I had money in the first place and just treated me like a human being. Mrs. Alvarez, who showed kindness without expecting anything back. And Haley, who actually preferred the simpler version of our relationship. I kept those 3. The rest can buy their own drinks from now on.